What is up, everyone? Welcome to Conversation Piece with Patrick Armstrong. I am your host, Patrick Armstrong, and this is a show where I talk to people, my friends, and other interesting folks about whatever's on their minds right now. A lot of adoption-related topics, hoping to dig into some sports at some point in the future, and if you're a returning listener, you know that I haven't really talked to a guest in a while, so I have not been living up to that part of the show's mission? I'll call it a mission. But that is changing, so I'll be talking about that in just a little bit. But very quickly, just want to say thank you again for joining me for another episode, another 0.5, another mid-month episode. Very excited to just share a little bit about what's been going on in my life, what I am currently working on, and then talk a little bit about what you can expect for next month. So, I'm excited to record this episode because honestly, I've been having a really great week this week, and I recognize that is a very big privilege because there's been a lot of terrible news in the news and been happening in the world recently. Over 30,000 people lost their lives in the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. There was just another mass shooting on Michigan State's campus. A lot of terrible stuff. A lot of terrible things. So I just wanted to recognize that because in the midst of all of this, this week of the 13th of February, I'm having a pretty good week, to be honest. And a lot of that rests within the conversations that I've been having and the new folks that I've been meeting, both adoptees and non-adopted people, who just share like-minded interests in sports, in podcasting, in all the different types of things that you probably found me in or talking about at some point on any number of the shows that I've either working on or appeared on. So it's been great. I've been really excited because I feel like at the beginning of the year, something that I was wanting to do last year but didn't do as much as I should have was to be very intentional about continuing to build relationships, especially as I try to push forward in this entrepreneurial path. Networking is important, and the relationships that you build with other people are important. And so it feels like these things are paying off, and it feels like, and I say paying off in the fact that, yes, we're 1.5 months into 2023, not enough of a sample size, but I do feel like, I'm energized and I'm excited about the conversations that I've been having. I'm feeling very fortunate and lucky to know some of the folks and to have been either reached out to or connected with some of the folks that I've been talking to. And just having the chance to kind of learn other people's stories. And, you know me. I take storytelling very, very seriously. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to hear someone's story, let alone be able to share that information, if they consent to that, with other people. So, I feel like I've just been living in that world, especially this week, and just finding, continued inspiration, continued motivation to do what I've been doing, and seeing these conversations lead to how do you support each other? I think that's how do I support you? I guess so. And at the end of one of my conversations, one of the people I was speaking with asked me, they go, going forward, how can I best support you? In what ways can I support you? And I told them, it's still weird to be asked that question because I feel like I asked that question to a lot of other people, a lot of folks in my community, in my circle, how can I help you? But for whatever reason, it seems strange to me that folks would ask me that. And I don't know where that stems. I think it stems from, a bit of unworthiness or the struggle or the process of dealing with self-worth specifically, and feeling like I'm not really worth supporting for whatever reason. But, that was old Patrick. That was old P, young P. I'm not thinking that way anymore. And I said to them, I responded that with pretty much what I just said. I was like, I've worked through, I think, a little bit of that, and it's easier now to explain what kind of support I'm looking for, especially because I'm chasing after such specific things, from a speaking angle, from a podcasting angle, from, those two specific angles, I guess. And, if you're a startup out there, it's a conversation I just had last week. If you're even tangentially working with adoption, I'd love to sit down, talk with you, and see, what you're doing from an adoptee's lens, an adoptee's perspective when it comes to programming, education, both internal and external, whatever that looks like. Happy to talk to you about that. And happy to recommend a number of people if you feel like I'm not a good fit with whatever it is you're doing. So again, the power of community makes me very excited, very privileged again, and lucky to know some of the folks and to have gotten to know some of the folks in my network over the past few years. And so, what was I talking about? This is the show. Goodbye to all of the first time and now last time listeners who are like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. No, but I mean, I guess I was talking about that question of, how can I support you? And so just explain to them, the different ways that I felt like I could use support as I go forward, and then, offered them that same thing. And I don't know why, but I'm thinking about those ends of those conversations, and it really just affirms to me the importance of community. I feel like on these half episodes, I talk about this a lot, and I think I'm not mad about it, because I think it really it needs to be stressed repeatedly. And even if it becomes inherent common knowledge, that community is something that we all need, and we need to work to build and support and bolster and facilitate and whatever it is that we need to do with it. I think that it just, the things that happen out in this world, it feels like one of the root problems could be a lack of community. Obviously, a natural disaster is not that, but the ways that natural disasters impact certain folks could also be an example, a sign of a lack of community. And as an adoptee and as someone who has very openly talked about my journey of reclamation out of 30 years of rejection, and rejecting essentially community. The community that I didn't know that I needed. I don't want other folks who are feeling that way to go through it in the same way that I did. And specifically meaning that they're suppressing their identities, their emotions, their feelings, because it feels like they don't have anyone, or there are no other people who can either resonate or who can share an experience, or who's just willing to sit there and listen. I hope that they find their way to this show and they can hear about me talking, or they can hear me talking about community, because it is that important, I think. It is that important that we have that, not only for each other, but for ourselves as well. Yeah, so that's community. That's what I think about community. And that's, again, why I've been just feeling like I'm having a great week, because I've just been privy and sitting in on conversations that just give me a lot of life. Give me a lot of life about what's going on right now. Because, you have to balance the bad with the good, and you have to find, if you have the privilege of being able to seek it out, you want to find those good things. And in community, I've found the goodness in the world. And I'm hoping to continue to uncover those things, continue to build relationships, continue to foster and facilitate community for myself and for anyone else who's looking for it. So shout out to all the people. If you're listening to this podcast and we've talked this week or last week, shout out to you. Shout out to everyone on my calendar currently. I really appreciate you. It goes without saying, I wouldn't be sitting here talking into this microphone right now about this had I not had folks welcome me into community. Had Jonathan Wong, the first guest of Dear Asian Americans, and it responded to my email. Had he not connected me with Jerry, had Jerry not welcomed me into the Just Like Media family and encouraged myself and KJ and Nathan to start the John Chi Show, had folks not listened to the John Chi Show, or had guests not wanted to come on to the show, all of these things that have happened, had one of them not happened, I might not be sitting here. And it's like from that point of getting that first response after listening to that first episode of Dear Asian Americans, each point can be characterized as a growth of my personal community, or the community that is surrounding me personally. And, I feel like for a long time when I was operating in rejection prior to Reclamation, I was very insular in my community, unwilling to grow it, unwilling to expand because I was comfortable. And the most amazing thing about the communities that I found myself in, particularly the adoptee community, is that a lot of the things that bind us are uncomfortable to talk about. A lot of the things that we resonate with are not necessarily things that I was bonding with my friends in my circles prior to coming into Reclamation. And so I think that's amazing, because that discomfort is something that it feels like we're taught to run away from. It feels like we're taught to say, nah, I don't want to be part of that because it's uncomfortable. And what I've learned over the last few years is that in that discomfort is where we grow the most. And for myself personally, in that discomfort is where I found community and seen my community grow in ways that I never would have even thought of, let alone thought possible pre-Reclamation. So that is my thing about community. And, again, this week has sucked for a lot of people, and my heart and my support is with them, and trying to support in any and all ways that I can, offline and off air. But I am very thankful and grateful to be able to have had the opposite of this pain and trauma and grief. And I hope that I'm able to shift that outwardly as well to those who have been impacted the most by, these tragedies. Okay. So, as I'm doing this podcast, building community, trying to figure out ways to make it sustainable, as I said, leaning into entrepreneurship. If you're not making money, you're not making it work, to be honest. And I realize that, you put the time in, you put the work in, you put the energy in, and hopefully you'll see a return on investment when you invest your time, your energy, and your effort at the end of all this. So one of the reasons I've been excited about these conversations is I'm seeing conversations I'm having conversations that I think hopefully can lead to some of these opportunities. I'm just grateful for the friendship and the conversation to begin with. And those conversations may never lead to anything business-wise, but some of those conversations center around the content that we create or the conversations that we have on our respective podcasts. And we talk about, and one of those things that it comes to is like monetization. How is this sustainable? Because for a lot of people, podcasts are pandemic projects. Or were pandemic projects, and now they are something much more. And that's what I want to do with this. So that's what I'm continuing to do that. And, as I said in the last episode, probably going to be doing shorter episodes, but not shorter in the sense that I'm just trying to get them over with, shorter in the sense that I want to have concise, valuable conversations to give to y'all. That would make people say, okay, yeah, I would support this show beyond a listen every week. I would buy a t-shirt if he had shirts, or, I could support him by buying him a coffee through that link, or whatever the case may be. Whatever the type of support is, I'm working towards that. And I'm hoping to or I'm hoping that through the work that I've been doing behind the scenes on not only this podcast, but in other aspects of my life, that it's going to translate into, yes, this is a valuable product that he has created, a brand that he's created, and we want to help sustain that. And so, yeah, so I'm just working towards that. So you're going to be seeing stuff coming out soon regarding sustainability, but to be honest, it's more of just a branding aspect, developing the brand, understanding that this is a show about conversations, and about, at the end of the day, underneath those conversations is a building of empathy towards folks who carry a different lived experience than we do. And so I hope that's what my ultimate goal is with the show, and that's what the brand is. The brand is to, generate these types of conversations, and with consent from the guest, let folks in to hear those things. And so, and to share in that knowledge, that wisdom, whatever the case may be, that conversation piece. And so, I appreciate everyone who's been on this journey with me so far, everyone that's joined here. If this is your first time listening, thank you. I'm going to continue to put the podcast out in this format for now, but working on some cool stuff behind the scenes that I'm really excited about, and excited to be able to start sharing soon. So that brings me to next month. You are listening to this, if you listen to it on the day that it dropped, Thursday, February 16th. And if you have listened before, you already know this, but if you're a new listener, I have been dropping new whole number episodes on the first of every consecutive month. And March will be no different. March this time will be slightly different than it has been the last 2 months, because I am bringing guests back. That's right. I am going to have guests starting again in March, and I am very, very excited because I teased it last time and it was supposed to be in February, but now it is in March, and I think it's actually more timely for the conversation that you're going to be listening to. But I don't want to spoil it. But the only hint I will give is that it is multiple guests on this next episode. It is going to be multiple guests, and I am very, very, very excited about this conversation. And again, very privileged and lucky to know folks who have been able to build these types of relationships and community with. It's exciting. So really excited to share that. March will be the start of some of this new content and new things that you'll see. You're going to start seeing the Conversation Piece podcast have its own social media finally. It's only taken us 8 months to develop our own branding presence, but we had to develop the content first, had to figure out what we were doing. And I don't know why we're saying we, because it's just me, but you'll see that start to roll out. And folks who are subscribed to the newsletter, you will probably get a little bit of a heads up on that beforehand, before the actual launch, before the actual live rollout. So again, very, very excited to share that with y'all. March, also my birthday month, also March Madness, still very upset at Purdue right now. For the Purdue Northwest BS. Still obviously a big Boilermaker fan. Still very confident that we can win a national championship in basketball this year, but also I'm like, come on, we got to fix this shit. So that's going on in March. I'll be in Austin for Dear Asian Americans, helping out with some events out there, another night market. Very excited about that. And also really excited about hopefully announcing some of the things that I've been working on that are not podcast related. So very, very, there's a lot of stuff going on in March. March, April, starting in March, honestly, is when hopefully the things are picking up steam truly. And I can't wait to share all of that with you, hopefully. Because if I'm not sharing it, that means it's not happening. And I'm like, but we'll see. We'll make it. It's going to happen. Manifesting it. Okay. So on the 1st, be ready for that episode. It's going to be very exciting. February. I hope it's been what you've needed it to be. I hope you've had a week like I've been having so far. Even just a day, even just an hour to feel joy, to feel happiness, to feel something beyond like the collective and individual pain and trauma that seems to continue to happen on a loop endlessly in our world right now. I hope you're able to find rest. If you follow me on Instagram, I shared a picture of my cat just passed out on the carpet, and it made me think about just, man, I wish that I could rest like that sometimes, and I hope that other folks are able to find that as well. Before I go too, I just want to shout out my previous guests of the show and friends, Katie Gagel and Laura Summers. They just launched a new podcast called Adopting Wellness. It is about embracing and adopting wellness from a mental health and physical health perspective through the lens of two people who also share the adoptee experience. So I've been helping as a producer and editor on that show as they launch. Very excited about that. I really, really have enjoyed the conversations too. And again, it's pushed me down this path of like, I need to work on like the mental health aspect of my own life is an area that I still need to work on from a professional standpoint, AKA get your butt in therapy. So very excited to work on the show. Very excited to see the support that they've been receiving already. Having just launched here this month. So very excited about that. Check that out. And I think that's it. I honestly think that's it. Good week. Excited for what's to come. Disheartened by just the continued terribleness of part of the world. If you can hear that train, that's not a bad part, but all that other shit is. So, wishing health, safety, peace, happiness to everyone, hoping that you're able to find that, hoping that you're able to find rest at whenever and wherever you can find it. And excited about the journey to come with Conversation Piece, with my own personal work, and with the conversations that I'll be having with all of you. So until the 1st, I hope you are well, and I will plan on seeing you then. Bye.